Hello and good morning. How are you doing, Aspen?
Good morning. Pretty good. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic and very excited to talk to you because, man, this is what it's all about. Learning how to spread the word in a way that is like, wow, this could be me. I can grow from this.
Yes.
How did you get involved with this project? Because, I mean, it's an open door for you to reach out and be with real people.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to audition last year and had a couple callbacks, a producer session, a chemistry read. And when I read the script and the original background, I was like, man, I would love to be a part of a project like this. And when it came through, I was so grateful, man.
The movie we're talking about is The Forge, and a year out of school, and moms are just being mobs. All they want, Isaiah, is just to get into a better place and have a greater journey, and you're on your way.
Yes. Like you said, he's about a 19-year-old. He's been abandoned by his father. And he doesn't have a clear sense of direction for his life, but he does have a praying mom who prays for him. And he does meet a businessman who pours into him and teaches him about biblical principles, and it changes his life for the better.
You're not afraid to talk about the prayer, and I love that about this because Miss Clara, she's a prayer warrior.
Yeah.
Oh, we all know these prayer warriors, and we are lifted to them.
Oh, yeah, we are. And like I said, it's such a powerful theme. You have the prayer of the themes of discipleship, prayer, forgiveness, and just the importance of pouring into the next generation, because we do have that power and responsibility, especially when we look at today's time. It's so important and so needed right now.
Well, you speak the truth inside this movie in the way that Isaiah's father is not with him. And I didn't get the chance to meet my father. And maybe that's the reason why I'm so attracted to this, because it's like, wow, Isaiah did this. Isaiah did this. And it's almost like Isaiah is living up to this image like Isaiah does in the Bible.
Yeah, it's so interesting, too, because going to what you said as well, I didn't grow up with my father. So when I read the script, I was like, man, like I felt so seen at a point where I was like, even though my father wasn't there, I was graced to not carry that anger or bitterness because I had so many friends who didn't have their father growing up as well. So I thought it was normal. But to know, looking back over my life now, that God was a heavenly father in my life. And like I meet people now that's like, I know both of your parents are proud, them not knowing that I only had my mom growing up. But it's a thing where God has restored that relationship. Because similar to Isaiah, I reached out to my father years ago and forgave him. But just to know that God wanted me to do that years ago, and this film and this opportunity came through last year, and this kind of mirroring my life. So I was just like so grateful and surprised at the point where I'm like, man, this has been my personal life. So it was pretty cool to be a part of this project.
See, so many of us have that same story. I mean, as a child, I felt lost. Where's my dad? Where's my dad? But as an adult, I'm never alone. Yep. I've got God. I'm never alone.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the powerful thing that so many people need to know, and I believe they will grasp in this film, that you are never alone. You have people, if they're not in reach, we can also pray for people to be sent to our lives to be able to help us, not only just mold us and shape us in just responsibility or in our goals and ambitions, but to say, hey, this is how God sees you to be at a personal level, and he has these plans for you. And sometimes, if you don't have that father, it's kind of hard to believe, or how can I trust a heavenly father if my real dad wasn't there? But it's a thing where God is a perfect God and a perfect father, to the point where when we surrender and trust, that's all we need to do to allow him to make himself known in our lives.
So true. I love that Isaiah is a protagonist because we see them every single day. But to me, that's the first step toward discovering faith and trust.
Yeah. Because like you said, there are so many people, strangers in the grocery stores, people we may bypass to a point where, okay, who is somebody in my life or in my past and that I can be intentional about saying hello or saying, hey, how was your day, but really meaning it? Because I believe that opens the door to be able to be that kind person to somebody, to say, hey, I see you. And a lot of times, so many people overlook those people. And it's a thing where everyone needs to feel seen and feel loved and understood, to a point where, hey, everybody's looking for answers. But if we lead them through truth, I believe everyone will get to that place where God ultimately wants everybody to be.
Aspen, we're on the same page here, because during the lockdown, I took on a job at a grocery store because I was starving to be with people. And one of the things that I've learned in my journey to be at that grocery store is I asked myself one day, are people happy to see you? No, they're happy that I see them. Mm-hmm. And that is so important. See other people.
Yeah. And I love that story you just shared as well, because that's the importance of, that's why we're all here. And, even in people get excited about, man, you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm like, man, like, I'm so grateful to be able to be a part and be a vessel for people to see, not me, but the message that's being expressed, because everyone, we're all in this together. We're not alone. So it's a thing, we're just taking the time to, be a servanthood, so to speak, to be a servant, to say, hey, let me serve this person. Let me think about their needs. Like you said, asking people, hey, how are you? Or, I see you. That makes the total difference. And it makes people feel seen and just loved by just making sure that, hey, you care about the person that's standing right in front of you. Yeah. And that's so important and needed in today's time.
You know how people are, Aspen, when it comes to any type of spirituality or religion, they like to hide in their corners and they don't want to talk about it and they don't want to bring it out to the street. But Isaiah begins to receive, and we watch Isaiah grow.
Yeah, you get to watch him grow. You get to see his journey. You get to see his mistakes and his attitude in the very beginning, but also witnessing the power and the transformation that happens when he chooses to do something that he didn't understand previously. Like he says, he has a mentor that pours into him and teaches him about biblical principles. And then you get to see his heart lighten up. You get to see, his attitude changes. You get to see how he talks to people differently, and it's just a thing where he was carrying that anger and bitterness and not knowing that it was an overflow of how he treated people around him, and in terms of being responsible as well. But when he surrendered his life and his heart, he became the young man that everybody wanted to be around. So it wasn't about just him, but it was about his heart posture that changed, that ultimately allowed his life to change for the better.
This movie serves so many different levels. I mean, there are some young teens that need to watch this movie in the way of, instead of saying, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost, be found. This movie gives you a seed to be found. And more importantly, it also serves as a reminder to adults.
Yeah, like you said, I believe so many generations will be impacted by this. You have the older generation and younger generation, because someone will see themselves, even if it's someone who didn't have their father. If it's somebody to say, you know what, I have to go find somebody to mentor and to pour into. Or you may have just the people who are rooting for you or cheering for you in your life to say, hey, I may not see you every single day, but I'm praying for you. And just to seeing how the community is so important to be able to say, hey, I am not in this alone. It does truly take a village. And it will inspire and ignite everybody to be intentional about taking action from whatever perspective they feel led to in their hearts.
Yeah. The movie we're talking about is The Forge. With a story so beautiful like this one is there a website? Because you know how people are. Their eyes are glued to that smartphone.
Yes.
They're going to want to know where to go.
Oh, yeah. So theforgemovie.com is where you can go get tickets and watch the trailer and get all information regarding the movie. And also, The Forge Movie is on Instagram as well.
Wow. Outside of acting, what are you doing?
Yeah, so me and my wife, we're actually launching so it's called Parable Mount Pictures, because I want to also do my own films to inspire and impact people too. So that's something in the very beginning stages. And she just started her women's podcast. It's also a ministry. It's called Heavenly Citizens Club. So those are in the very beginning stages, but we're really excited to get that out into the world as well.
Wow. It's so funny because I just heard a podcast with David Duchovny, who says that he loves getting with the actors at their early stages, because when they become gigantic actors, becoming, Oscar winners, you can always look back on conversations just like this and say, Aspen, do you remember when your wife's project was just starting? We talked about it.
Yeah. I know, right? It's the power of media, man.
Absolutely. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, dude. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thanks for sharing your story as well, man. Definitely impacted by that.
You be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you, man. You too.